Swords of Eveningstar is a 2006 novel by Ed Greenwood, and is book 1 in the Knights of Myth Drannor trilogy. Now in the time at which I have the honor to write, the fair realm of Cormyr was suffering from a dearth of adventurers, which is to say, an uncustomary shortage of fools. So we have a lot of stuff, pretty much, in this book. In fact, my notes for this one are insanely long, but it's mostly quotes from the epigraphs, which is what I just read for you, actually, the very first one in the book. And they're really good. I think Ed Greenwood could write a book of aphorisms, and I would buy it, because I feel like his little tidbits on life are very effective and worthwhile. But let's talk about the story itself and how it works. So we have Delin Laquilavar, or something like that, Laquilavar, or something. The 7 spells is just teleported to a familiar forest. He is an elf mage, or was, as he dies almost immediately on page 1. And his Rethren animal companions flee in terror, while an unknown person smiles in satisfaction as doomed through a scrying orb. A purple dragon, then a soldier of Cormyr, not an actual dragon, of course, enjoys the breeze in the leaves. It is Tarsak, or so springtime, essentially, and she is being relieved for the day by her Leonar, which is essentially like a captain. She is stationed near Weymouth in the forest, dominating the western half of the Forest Kingdom. She stops to talk to a farm wife and buy some apples, but sees an extremely handsome fellow called the Silent. The two women admire him, and then talk about some lewd romances they both enjoy reading, and they bond over this. The year is 1348 DR, which is some years before most Forgotten Realms novels, especially at the time 2006 this came out. Then we meet Florin Falconhand. He is traipsing through the same forest, and through him we learn it is the year of the Spur. He is the one called the Silent, and he is young and been working the forge for Hawkstone. He is from Espar originally, though. Something is bothering him. Something that was riding him as eagerly as his fellow young bloods of Espar were riding their lasses this spring, despite the peace of the force. Whew. Greenwood sure knows how to be lewd, but not to have me hate it. It's quite charming at times. Florin happens upon an angry, cursing woman who has the voice of a rich person from Suzale. Soon we meet Del Bosson, a horse master, to Lord Hezum of Espar, as well as a noble of House Crownsilver. It is the former that wears the stool the chapter is titled for. More importantly, we meet Florin's friends, these being the stars of the show. Not quite all at once, but we have a lot of characters in this book. Like we have Narantha Crownsilver in particular. And we learn some things, like Therafoil leaves can cause impotence. Anyways, we also have Herondune, who has a Hargant, and who has a book called Galaundar's Grimoire, and he is essentially the villain of the book. Silver Medallion, also with no face on it, is a sign of kind of like a Timora, pretty much, until proved worthy of her service and becoming a proper cleric. And that's because Deuced has such aspirations. I also learned of Jasail, Isleaf Lurlake, Deuced again Silwood, and Seymour Wolftooth, Clumsome and Stoop. These 4 friends of Florin's dream of adventure, but need a charter or they'd be arrested, of course, for wielding weapons openly in Cormyr, such as the law. But they don't want to be stuck toiling in a field or cooking until they die, all while Florin is having a very stupid adventure of his own. Oh, the foibles of youth. This is essentially a coming of age for several characters, and there's essentially no main character, though at the beginning, maybe Florin could be said to be the main character of the other ones. This adventuring group, which will later be known as the Knights of Myth Drannor, first won Swords of Espar on their charter, but that's taken. Now Malarith, no Malarith or Finder, so they settle with the Swords of Eveningstar, which is nearer the Stonelands they've been directed to by the Crown. There are some certain things in here, like the Crown. We have Panay and Martess, Agenor and Bay, Dove, one of the 7 sisters, for she is known as Falconhand, actually, and she is known as Lady in Green here, and is still a servant of the Crown and a harper. Also have the Haunted Halls of Eveningstar, and then some things hardly seem connected at a time, and this is rather normal for Greenwood. It does feel like a romp from one event to the next, really fast and swift. I did find it a little too plotless, and I wonder if it was based more heavily upon an actual campaign, since that is what this is. The Knights of Myth Drannor are his friends, that the people he actually plays D&D with, so that it could explain some of it. I think maybe the most surprising character would be Azamander. But really, the story's okay. At the beginning, I think, is really strong. Again, the highlights of all the people mentioned, all the companies mentioned, all the history mentioned, all the quotes mentioned. I mean, that's kind of what you read a Greenwood novel for in some ways, but it gets a little bit too chaotic for me in the later half of the book, which again is rather normal for Greenwood as well, but it definitely is not as enjoyable as it is in other places. For example, this is more along the lines of, say, Stormlight by Greenwood, and not as enjoyable as, say, something like really any of his Elminster books that I've read. So, but still not the worst thing ever. Again, Greenwood is kind of up and down, a little hit or miss, depending on the reader anyways. So, Lean from Moon's Lyceum, I'll definitely continue with the next two books.